What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about why Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is the only fight to make inside the UFC right now. As we all know, Jon Jones last night, UFC 309, he beat Mr. Stipe Miocic, the quote-unquote greatest heavyweight of all time, by spinning back kick to the body, knocked him down, ultimately finished him with ground and pound. That fight really wasn't even close. Tom Aspinall, on the other hand, his last 3 fights total have lasted a combined 3 minutes and 20 seconds, knocking out Marcin Tybura, Sergey Pavlovich, and Curtis Blades. All the fans want to see this fight going on with Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall, and I think it's because this is easily Jon Jones' hardest test probably ever inside the organization. He's fighting someone who's not only bigger than him, but who's also faster than him, in a very weird and odd combination that Tom Aspinall possesses. But Tom Aspinall is one of the biggest puzzles inside the UFC to solve, and I genuinely think that this fight is going to go down, and I think Dana White is going to ultimately make it happen. So in this episode of Fight Season MMA, we're just going to talk about kind of why this fight needs to go down, Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, what are the kinks and quirks in this fight to really make it one of the most interesting fights and probably the biggest fight in UFC heavyweight history. But if you guys enjoyed the UFC content, please have a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help the channel grow. And while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications just so you guys are always notified about UFC content releasing every single day. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video talking about why Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is the fight to be made next. So, Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is reportedly going to happen next, according to Dana White. Dana White has kind of talked about all the fights that Jon Jones is talking about, and really it boils down to Jones wanting to fight Pereira over Aspinall. And Dana White came out yesterday and said that this fight with Alex Pereira would not be going down, considering the grappling of Jon Jones, of how apparent it was shown in this fight with Mr. Stipe. And I do think that Aspinall, on the other hand, a great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a natural heavyweight on that terms, and genuinely one of the best fighters inside the organization. And you look at Jones being the pound-for-pound GOAT, as well as Tom Aspinall being the interim champion. It is a very incredible mix of fighters going into fight in this main event of whatever card it would headline. This would easily be the biggest UFC heavyweight fight of all time. You got, like I said, Jon Jones, the GOAT of the sport, going up against the best upcoming heavyweight prospect. And I shouldn't even say prospect at this point because he's proven himself. He's won the belt. But genuinely, these two are going to have an incredible fight with one another. And let's dive kind of talking about why this fight is so special. We talk about Jon Jones being a little bit lighter at heavyweight. And genuinely, I think this is something that gives him a very big advantage. He fought Stipe Miocic at about 235 to 238 pounds, and that gave him the speed advantage, in a very big apparent speed advantage. But the one thing that Jon possesses that allows the speed advantage to be, valid without him giving up that big size advantage is the grappling ability that he has. And he looks a lot bigger on the ground, especially when he was on top of Miocic, peppering him with those elbows and those different strikes. He looked absolutely massive down there compared to Stipe, and I think that was a very big thing for Jones to do, to go in there and look so dominant over Stipe, because Stipe was a lot bigger than Jones. It was pretty apparent too. Stipe was about 250 pounds, an inch taller, and Jones, yes, he looks big as well, but you can tell his legs don't have that much weight. He looked like he kind of had a little belly in there, but it's just because he's at heavyweight. It's nothing crazy. It's just, it's all muscle too. But Jon Jones really went in there and broke that fight open with Stipe Miocic. But Tom Aspinall, on the other hand, is younger. He's faster. He's not going to have that those same kinks and quirks that Stipe had doing on the ground with Jon Jones. And I think the biggest thing that Tom Aspinall has that would help him in a fight with Jon Jones is, yes, a fight IQ, but the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, if he really needs to use it on the ground. He submitted guys like Andrei Arlovski and Alexander Volkov with different submissions, and two, he's got a great striking game to combat everyone. Like I said, 3 KOs his last 3 fights. Pavlovich, Blades, and Tybura. These are all great UFC heavyweights. And I genuinely think that Tom Aspinall would be able to go in there and kind of switch up different things. Not saying he would go and take Jon Jones down, because I think that's death to anyone who do so, because Jon is one of the best ground game artists inside the UFC, even in the heavyweight division in the entire organization. And Tom Aspinall knows that he's kind of got that in his bag, but he definitely would excel in the striking category. He's got some incredible leg kicks too, and I think that would be pretty apparent to be shown, especially against Jon Jones, whose legs aren't that big. Not saying that Jon Jones doesn't have weak legs or strong legs. It's just they are the biggest discrepancy in his bodily game, considering that he's got one of the best MMA bodies the organization has ever seen. He's got such an odd frame, being at 6'4", long, lanky, long arms. He's got everything that you could ever ask for in an MMA fighter. And I do think that in the heavyweight division, though, Tom Aspinall is one of the one of the few true filled out heavyweights inside the organization, weighing around 260, 6'5", fast, lean, strong, and that would give so many different issues to someone like Jon Jones because, Jon likes to work off of kind of some kicks. He likes to be in the open space to kind of beat opponents when they were slower. Like he was kind of dodging with his hand out, like kind of his normal defense that he does in his fights, but that wouldn't work against Aspinall. Aspinall's too strong. He's too fast. He would be able to expose some of those different categories. And I think the other thing that Tom Aspinall would be able to avoid would be those teep kicks up through the body that are usually coming from Jon Jones. We saw it very apparently in that fight with Stipe Miocic. Jon Jones was using the teep kick constantly. There was I think it was in the second round that Jon Jones hit Stipe with the teep kick, and Stipe thought it was low, but it was just a great teep kick digging into the stomach that really, really must have felt uncomfortable and really hampered Stipe going into that round. But I look at this fight, and it's really a clash between speed and strength and striking versus ground grappling and ground and pound by Jon Jones. And, I just don't see a way that Jon Jones would be able to get this fight to the ground over Tom Aspinall before Tom Aspinall would really clip and hurt Jon Jones. Tom is so accurate. He's got pinpoint accuracy. Look at that fight with Sergey Pavlovich. And I know Pavlovich isn't the most technical striker inside the UFC, but Tom Aspinall was able to absorb a punch for Pavlovich and then kind of move off and then hit him one time over across the head to ultimately send him down to the ground to finish the fight with ground and pound. But Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is the fight to make inside the organization. I personally can't tell you enough how much this fight needs to be made because genuinely, I know Jon Jones is advocating for a lot of money. He says he wants this and he wants that. And it's genuinely just because Jon Jones said, no, this is going to be the hardest fight in his UFC career. Not only is the clock against him with his age at 37 years old compared to a 31-year-old Tom Aspinall, Tom is bigger. Tom is probably stronger. Tom also has experience. No matter what Jones says, Tom has it, and he's a great, humble guy. I know Jones called Tom an a-hole, which is incredibly disrespectful considering that when Tom Aspinall won the belt at UFC 304 in Manchester, or defended the belt rather, he kind of stood up there. He's like, you know what, Jon Jones, I understand, I respect you, but I want to unify the title. Can we please make it done? And Jon Jones is talking more or less about the fans rather than Tom Aspinall himself. But I know that this fight would be one of the best fights in UFC history. Get two of the biggest, just absolutely beefy heavyweights in there to go duke it out and finally unite the UFC heavyweight belt after over a year with a disputed champ and interim champ to finally make the UFC undisputed champion yet again. And I think that this would be an incredible thing to be done, considering that Aspinall's up and coming. Jones is the GOAT. Make this the biggest fight, promoted as that, and genuinely these two individuals would have one of the best fights of 2025, and I do think it's going to happen pretty soon. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comment section about Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. Easily the biggest fight, heavyweight fight in UFC history, considering that you got Jon Jones, the GOAT of the sport, going up against probably the best heavyweight that the UFC has seen in really recent years. I would take Tom Aspinall pretty much over anyone all time in heavyweight. And that might sound absolutely crazy, but I combined his strength and his speed and his grappling and everything in between, combined by that incredibly high fight IQ to truly show one of the best fighters inside the organization. And I think that Jon Jones has that hunger. He's got everything that you could ask for. And I think that he's going to go in there and ultimately show and ultimately take this fight with Aspinall. Whether he wins or doesn't, that's another thing. But genuinely, I think Jon Jones has too much competitive spirit to ultimately go out there and not take this fight. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA. And please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy the UFC content. And while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications just so you guys are always notified about UFC content releasing every single day. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.